chloride, oh gosh, this is the second half because my camera just shut off. So ferric chloride, it's the coagulant of choice used in many sanitary wastewater treatments. Disadvantages to ferric chloride. As with any chemical, there are advantages and disadvantages. Removes alkalinity, extremely hazardous. So I'm going to go back to this because I was cut off, and this happens all the time, so all I can do is just keep going. This word solve coagula I saw here on this Baphomet. You can watch my first video to see how I got here. Well, I actually skipped. So solve coagula with the little snake medical thing going on right here with Levi or evil. So you've got Coagula here is a character from DC Comics Doom Patrol series, the first transgender superhero. I suspect they liked my powers but couldn't handle me. The definition of coagula, synonymous, let's see here, sorry, coagula, a coagulated mass as of blood, a clot. Wikipedia says it's a character. Coagula is a transgender lesbian, former prostitute and programmer, after having sex with former Doom Patrol member Rebis, an alchemical hermaphrodite. Coagula gained a chemical powers, the power to dissolve things on the one hand and coagulate them on the other hand. When I look at the anagram for solve coagula, I talked about this in the other video. Solve, dissolve, dissolve, and coagula, coagulate. So dissolve and coagulate. Oval cage soul. Another anagram is vacuole's goal, and that's to collect waste. Is the vacuole's goal is to collect waste. And going back, because my last video cut me off, I'm showing the Sweetwater .org. That is my Sweetwater Authority, local authority, water authority, because I'm seeing lots of these water authorities are stepping over their boundaries. Purdue Water Treatment Plant, and they talk about what they do to disinfect the water, and they use ferric chloride for coagulation. And looking at lots of research, it's very easy to find this. Ingestion of ferric chloride may result in serious morbidity and mortality. I've showed this. I'll leave the links for this so I don't have to go over it again, but just know ferric chloride is not something that you want to have in your system because it makes you highly acidic, and an acidic body is a diseased body. I mean, why would you put ferric chloride in drinking water? And one article that came out February 25th, that's like 10 months before that came out, it said, why using the wrong wastewater treatment chemical in the wrong place can be detrimental. And it lists how ferric chloride, it's the coagulant of choice. One disadvantage of ferric chloride they mention is it removes alkalinity and it's extremely hazardous, but they're going to go ahead and put it in your drinking water. And the ferric chloride advantages is its odor control, and it's an aggressive coagulant and efficient for phosphorus removal. And one study in Michigan was showing how the ferric chloride chemical attaches to the phosphorus in water. It says then forms a solid material and falls to the bottom of the pond. This process cleans the water by removing phosphorus, which phosphorus is a mineral that we need, but cleans the water in finger quotes. Here at the NIH.gov, it even says phosphorus is an essential mineral, is naturally present in many foods and available as a dietary supplement. Phosphorus is a component of bones, teeth, DNA, and RNA. Phosphorus is also a component of cell membrane structure and of the body's key energy source, ATP. Anyone start feeling kind of lethargic or not lazy, but just sort of tired lately. So this water authority also talks about flocculation. Oh, I can't help but think about sheep in that word. So it helps by using ferric. It makes it, the particles of the junk in the bottom of the water form clumps. And of course they turn an orange rusty color. But flocculation definition is scientific definitions for flocculation, flocculation. I guess I've been saying it wrong. The process in which individual particles of clay aggregate, it didn't have a verb there, but I guess groups or something, into clot-like masses or precipitate into small lumps. Flocculation occurs as a result of a chemical reaction between the clay particles and another substance, usually salt water. Do you know how much salt we have in our system? We are like salt, the sea. We have enough salt. We're like the seawater. So basically it's creating clot-like masses with clay particles and salt. It's interesting because in these Bible verses I was looking about clay, it says Daniel 2:33 to 41 verses in the Bible. There's 33. And remember the anagram for Daniel is DNA lie. This article talks about clay in the Bible and how God is the potter and we are the clay. Clay in the Bible is a recurring theme. God is the divine potter. Humanity is his clay. In Job 33:6, it says, "Behold, I am according to thy wish in God's stead. I also am formed out of the clay." But after that ferric chloride is used, the flocculation, it says that causes the dirt particles to stick together to form clumps. The iron in the ferric causes the flock clumps to turn an orange rusty color. So would that cause ferric oxide because it oxidizes? And this ferric oxide, Fe2, so it's iron, O3, Fe2, remember cophefi? Well, here's the symbol for ferric chloride. See, ferric chloride, and isn't this interesting? You know where that looks familiar? Remember Facebook from Meta? So just looking at clay and King James, I just was playing with the anagram for King James and the word masking is in there, and I looked at Jing mask, didn't make sense, electronic Jing mask, but there's also the word cIean. So I see King James and then J for Jesus, mask, cIean, Jing. And I saw this regarding, looks like something in French. The legacy of, I don't know that word, of Jean was created in 1821. Heirs to the potters. Heirs to the potters of the past centuries. Its bicentennial history is linked to the name of its creator. Isn't that weird? The Englishman Thomas Hall. And going back to this Michigan, again, I'm so sorry I'm jumping all over the place, you guys, regarding the ferric chloride. And they wanted to get rid of the phosphorus. That's why they got rid of, or that's why they're using ferric chloride. So I was wondering, why are they so hell-bent on phosphorus? I just started looking at that word just a little bit, and phos, meaning in the Bible, definition light, the light emitted by a lamp, a heavenly light such as surrounds angels when they appear on earth, anything emitting light, a star, fire, because it is light and sheds light. So also remember how I showed in my earlier video about the cIean. Here's emitting light, that cIean photography, how it shows light, and that is the definition of the coronae, a circle of light around a luminous body. And I got to the word coronae by looking at the anagram for operational medicine, which, when I was looking at that Kalitta Air, who does the operation medicine, there's Kalitta Air, who is doing a flight right now from Bosnia going into the United States here on the East Coast. And that's what I covered in my first video, mainly regarding this Kalitta Air, and the August 22nd video as well. It's just so weird how everything kind of meshes together, but the solve coagula, and the coagula is the transgender, like we don't have enough of that stuff going on. And solve coagula is also about the vacuole's goal, which is to collect waste, which is what the water authorities are trying to do, supposedly, at our expense. Oh, and that Kalitta airline too, they do organ procurement as well as working with government affairs for the Department of Defense. So part of this cleaning process with the water treatment companies as well, the utility companies, they also talk about filtration, and they use a layer of anthracite coal and sand to remove fine particles. And here I just looked quickly at a safety data sheet by Carbon Cells Inc. regarding anthracite coal for water treatment, filter media, skipping down to the hazards identification, physical hazards not classified, health hazards, specific target organ toxicity, repeated exposure for organ toxicity. Where have we seen that, I wonder? Anyhow, I've looked at when they started using this. So from repeated exposure may cause damage to organs through prolonged or repeated exposure. I wonder if there's a catalyst, like, to kind of get it kicked off. So you're just looking at the US death rate from 1950 to 2022. Although look at this, all 2020 and later data are UN projections and do not include any impacts of that. What about the, sorry, my dog's in the background snoring, it's disturbing. So look, our death rate was doing well until, sorry about this graph, 1998, we're doing well, and then let me move this over. This is in 2004, it's going down still. It's going down, and look, watch this. All of a sudden, it starts spiking up. What happened? What's this? 2013, but in 2009, oh, so 2008, it just starts going up, the death rate per 1,000 people. What happened in 2008? So I went and looked at that. And remember all the wording that they have in here: clot-like masses or precipitate into small lumps, clot-like. And this disturbing Baphomet picture of the words solve coagula on its arm. Oh yeah, and also the Kalitta Air regarding the operational medicine. Here they're coming down more in the United States. The operational medicine in gematria is pharmaceutical, Satanist, monster maker, and the alpha and omega birth. And then when you reduce these numbers, 8111, which goes to 3, raise the Lord, Rothschild family, the perfection of the beast, and Horus I. And the anagrams for Kalitta Air is a lariat kit. And here's a little picture I saw of the lariat barbecue, you know, meat. And metaverse is serve meat. And remember Facebook. And the anagram, sorry, the gematria for Kalitta is I Satan. That made me think of him, who is Aleister Crowley. He's a occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. When you look at the word mountaineer, it's enumeration, or enumeration or a numerator. Yeah, enumeration, which they like to count everything and track everything. It says he founded the religion of Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the eon, of course, the I, I'm sure, of Horus. And guess what? When I looked at the words Thelema, meta, hell, meta. There you go, meta, hell. And looking at the word hell, hell is a female being in Norse mythology who is said to preside over an underworld realm of the same name where she receives a portion of the dead. Hell is attested in the Poetic Edda, compiled in the 13th century from early traditional sources of the Prose Edda, written in the 13th century. But look at this. Look at this. So she's a female being, and I'll show you the picture in a second. Hell, the female being holding a staff and flanked by what is presumably the hound Garmr, both atop a cliff's ledge. In the background, a serpent crawls around among roots, and a basin sits, and partially shadowed figures appear to be in the movement below this cliff. Now look at this. Here's hell, the goddess, right? That's a goddess. What the hell is right? And here's a knife pointing at the dog, who looks like it's got a forked tongue. And dog could also be looked at as God. That's how they look at it. And look at all this, little lost souls. And then, is that a woman, a tranny? What is that? But then we've got the serpent. You've got this woman that's not a woman. And the hound, whose name is Garmr. Here's the gematria for Garmr, the numbers on the right. Garmr, I put it in their database because it wasn't there, but fire, that could be gas, not sag. Fire, gas, beast, 3, vaccine, and Bible code. It's also Edison, Apple ink, and a hologram. Now, isn't it strange how hell looks like a guy? Just like that coagula looks like a transgender. That's what they mentioned, transgender superhero by DC Comics. And when I go back to look at this little Satanist dude, Aleister Crowley, you look at his name, the anagram, it's AIW, electrolyzer. And look at this electrolyzer. The electrolyzer is an apparatus that produces hydrogen through a chemical process, electrolysis. I'm going to skip down here. And it says, i.e., without, God, sorry, that scared me. That my dog barked. Oh my God, it made me jump. i.e., without emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that's what they're so hell-bent on now, is zero emissions, right? Without emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere can be basis for decarbonized economy. And I always think that the W's or the M's or the V's, I always think that that's part of the when you look at Genesis, the C sign, it's sign can also be sine wave, like SINE, but I always think that that's like an electrical, like what would be God, he's a frequency. So if you put all these together, the W's and M's, it can make what they look at like kind of like a rough sine wave, as above, so below. But do you just think that's coincidence that the Aleister, if that's how you pronounce his name, Crowley, is like AIW, electrolyzer, and that's all about getting rid of the carbon dioxide emissions as they make you wear masks, right? And also W is also I am. So when you think of that, I am the light, that's also a frequency. I mean, we're energy. And here's his name, Aleister Crowley. Is also Bible 12, like the 12 apostles, like 12 stars you'll see everywhere. And there's another anagram for you in Aleister Crowley's name, Elite's Royal Crew. And one more thing, and I'll probably expand on this a little bit more clearer. unlike my last two videos have been so scattered, but deaths per 1,000 people. So the deaths per 1,000 is going down here. And then all of a sudden, what happens in 2008? What happened? Like all of a sudden, deaths started going up. Look at that. What happened in 2008? This is that graph from far away. So top technologies in 2008. This is what I looked at. Wired.com. Top technology breakthroughs. The number one thing is phones got faster. Their phones got faster. And I looked into this transistor array. It says any transistor arrays consist of two or more transistors in a common substrate. Unlike more highly integrated circuits, the transistors can be used individually like discrete transistors. That is, the transistor in an array are not connected to each other to implement a specific function. But I looked to see what a transistor array is, and this is what I saw. And look at this. What does this remind you of? The little logo thing. Here we go again. That's it blown up. I just thought that was weird. And I looked at the number there, 342. Okay, so well, I no longer have internet, so you got to bear with me even more now. But looking at that 342 and the DPN, look what I found. I mean, this is just, so 342 is Holodomor, and that vaccine is, I don't know if that's the, I think that that's the DPN number, or maybe it's the 57. I think 57 is the vaccine for DPN. But Holodomor is the genocide, man-made genocide. I covered this in a video a long time ago. Here, number 2. The world's corporate and academic research and development labs were busy laying foundation of some of the amazing future technologies in 2008. They produced concepts such as silicone chip you could swallow for personalized medicine from inside and out of a fourth fundamental elemental electronic circuitry. Remember Moderna's operating system in their jabs? So Samsung showed off a mobile phone prototype with a flexible display that folds like a book. Sorry, I've got to rush because I'm getting into the video again. That edible chips, which we've talked about that. Well, he's that psychopath that Klaus Schwab loves. But edible chips, they called the Proteus. Proteus in Greek mythology, his parents are Poseidon, which is poisoned, and Phonis, and flash memory. So I'm out of time, but I'll follow up on this. Proteus is the sea god.